So today we're going to put a new front tire on the Suzuki Volusia intruder thing. And this is the way I do it. I've got a little oil barrel that I use. And I take a piece of hose and I slit the hose and I put it on the oil barrel. This is a gear oil barrel, you know, just like 80-90 weight comes in it. And you've got to have it big enough inner diameter that your brake rotor fits in, but small enough that the rim fits onto there. That hose can go on the spokes or the rim or whatever, that's not super important. Pull out your valve core using a valve core tool. Maybe I will turn this off. Hold on. I like to work the music, but anyway, it's probably harder to hear. So you take a valve tool like this, you pull out the valve core and let the air out. And then you want to jump up on that. This is strong enough to hold up the whole motorcycle with you on it, by the way, let alone just you, so don't worry about it. So you get your shoe, push down on the side, break the bead, jump off, flip it over, jump on. You can see how this can keep the person in shape, huh? Anyway, then you get your spoons. I like my zip tie spoons. It's a tire spoon. Don't eat with it. So you take this, you get your knee going on, grab you. Okay, now I skipped a really important step. Get yourself some baby powder. What I'll do is I'll take a gloved hand and go around like this. So just, you know, a little shake, little go. Go like that, flip it over. I wasn't going to film, I was just going to go for it. I'll just film this. It's not auto repair, but it's cool stuff. I do bikes all the time anyway, so. Go around like that. Be sure to wear black pants so that the powder's all over your pants. People are like, what have you been doing when you go to lunch? So, you grab a little bite here, and then grab another bite here. You gotta be careful and watch out for the tube. A little bit on your start here, but also when you go to put the tire on, just grab a little bite, fling it. I like to grip this spoon just in a fist grip like this, just like you're in a knife fight south of the border, just, you know, good stabbing position. And flip it over. I just use my knee to kick it over, that's easier. Now, you can go a couple of different ways on this. You can pull the tube out now and then pull it off the rim that way onto the floor if you want. This has a nut on it. So when you look here, the camera's so much lighter and easier to tote around, but this way it's stable. You're welcome. So you got to undo the nut for the tube and then pull the tube out. Or you can leave the tube in and pull this one up this way and have the tire centered on the wheel. We're going to go that route because it's a little different. I learned this from Andrew Short's mechanic. He's a motocross racer, number 25, at least he's 25 for a while. I don't know what he is now. Last race I went to a couple weeks ago, he wasn't 25 anymore. I think he changed to something else. Anyway, get it like that. Out of the way, drop it on the ground, just get a good thump, and then grab your tube. Just kind of get it started out one direction or another, or just leave it in. I think the guy said just leave it in. But anyway, if you're going to do it here, you need to turn around, clunk it there, and then grab your spokes. I have no idea if I'm in frame or not. I kind of hope I am. So grab that. This way you kind of take some muscle on a street bike tire. Dirt bike tires are a lot easier. But what you can do if you lack in muscle and you have weight, you can put your knee on it. Learn by experimentation. Just put your knee on there and then slip the rim up and out. And then that's not too bad. And the tire's off. Bring this back into frame. See how I got a big stain on the concrete? That's what I'm using as a target. Hopefully that's working. And you can take the new tire. And here's the fun thing here. This new tire just doesn't even look right. See how fat this is? See how fat this isn't? But they're the same size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the inner tube in here. I'm going to inflate it, throw it out in the sun, and go get some delicious food to eat. One thing I decided to add before lunch is that oftentimes on your wheel you'll have little spots that are a little bit on the rusty side, especially if you ride a Suzuki or a Kawasaki. So that little rusty spot there, those actually really stick to your inner tube. Yeah, it bit me. Cheeky little monkey. So anyway, see how the rust gets onto the inner tube? And you got little chunks of sharp metal that are basically embedded on there. So what I like to do is I'll keep some of these tubes on hand as a spare if I'm real careful and if my skill warrants that it's worth keeping. And I'll request that customers bring in a new tube, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, it gives me a little room to screw up. You know, don't tell the owner, but and the other reason is sometimes you'll have so much metal and crud on there that it's just not worth using, and that's going to chafe against the inside of the rim like I showed you, and it's going to create problems down the road. I can do awesome, be careful, get this in there, get everything just the way we like it, and then wind up having it fail because of the chafing and having a leak 2-3 weeks down the road. He doesn't need that. He wants to be reliable, so do a new tube. But if you're not going to do a new tube, oh my goodness, you're going to have to spend some time and make sure you get all of those little rust flakes off of your tube. Aren't you glad I told you? Of course you are. You're welcome. So how fun is that? I've got this stretching out, and now when you have this sitting next to this one, you get to be thinking, maybe this is going to work after all. Look how they're about the same size now. I'm checking in the frame. Yep, they're the same size. So now I take this and I make a tire swing out of it. And I take this and I throw it out in the sun and let the sun soften the rubber so that after lunch it'll be really easy to put on. Because we're probably going to mount it about the same way as we took the other one off. I'll show you. So you can see now that we've had it sitting out in the sun, it sits nice and wide. It'll be easy to work with. The key to having a successful episode without pinching a tube is to use a lot of baby powder. So that's what we're going to do. Get it all in the tire. And what this does, it lubricates the tube such that, and you put a little air in it too when you're doing the last little part. It lubricates it so if you were to grab it, if you have a little air in there, it won't pinch it. It'll actually just push it out of the way and it'll be able to slip because it's got the baby powder. It's a nice little advantage. I was doing a little KTM bike. It was a little 65cc, and I was mounting a Maxxis tire. And those little back tires, the small ones that are hard, you know, because there's hard, medium, soft. Those hard little Maxxis tires, those are some of the hardest ones in the world to do, in my opinion. Because they're so small, they're real tight. I mean, you don't have a lot of room and flex. This one's a cakewalk compared to those. But I was talking to a guy at the bike shop. I'm like, how in the world do you ever mount those? I'm like, do you have a special machine? He's like, no, I just do it this way. He's like, the key is to have 2 or 3 psi in it and use a lot of baby powder. You do that, you're just going to be all right. I'm like, that's good to know. So now you can put this. I'm going to cover the other way of doing this. You saw that way I did it one time, in that I just did it in the center of the tire. You can also do it this way. You want to be careful of your brake rotor that you don't bend it, because that's no fun. It's probably better to do it from the non-brake rotor side. I should do that just for visual reinforcement, instead of just trying to be careful and saying, do as I say, not as I do. Good thing I wore black pants for all this white powder. I'm using a crap load of this baby powder. Let that be a visual reinforcement for you. I'm using a lot more than I normally do. Because when I'm narrating, I don't really think about it. Just go buck wild with it. Okay, now after you get the first, let me go back a second. I think I screwed up. Let's see if we got lucky. Your rotation goes this way. So I got lucky in this case, but you should look at your arrow first. Let me free you from the tripod so you can see this. See how it says rotation this way? Now that thing has the caliper not on the left side, but on the right. So with the caliper on the right side, this is rolling forward, so my rotation's correct. The other thing you want to look at is this little dot goes wherever your valve stem is. So I'm off 180 degrees from that. This is the lightest point on the tire, so you put it where the valve stem is, because that adds weight, obviously. It helps you to balance the tire better if you know that. So we'll buckle this back in there. So I'm lucky, I got away with it. So I'm going to rotate this around now while we're still thinking about it. There's my valve stem hole, there's my dot. I'll throw the tube in, and this tube, actually, I got all the rust off of it, and it's cleaned up good enough where it can be reused, and it has the curved valve stem on it that I like, so I'm going to go with that. So I got the tire halfway on, get down in here, and stuff that in there. Get this thing stuffed in. There's lots of baby powder inside the tire. I rolled it around on the ground in the baby powder. I got baby powder on here so I don't have to apply as much force, because if you're really pushing, stab into the tube. This way you can just get it to nice and smoothly mount in there. So get that put down into the bead, and then once all of that's stuffed in there, I'm going to locate where my valve stem went. You can also cheat a little bit. Go to the back side and you can see where your hole is. See right there? So assuming you can find where your valve stem is. There it is. It's like that thing on the a squared plus b squared equals c squared Pythagorean theorem thing. Where they give you a and b and you're supposed to find c. It says, and c is just located as an x. Find x. Just draw a little arrow. There it is. They always do easy questions on that nowadays. Like it's always a 3, 4, 5 triangle where you've got, 3 and 4, so you got 9 plus 16, because you square those, of course. 9 and 16 is 25. So you take the square root of 25, that gives you the 5, 3, 4, 5 triangle. Anyway, so I got my stem in there. I can lay this in. I'm going to double check my dot moved. So I'm going to take that, line that up, so that's happy. I have to take all the old weights off. What I like to do, I don't want to end where the valve stem is because it's thicker there and it's going to be an obnoxious pain in the neck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just before and go across, because right now there's not a lot of stress. I don't have any good stress-free music playing because copyright issues, but just imagine, no stress, we're good. I go around, pop the bead, and just kind of gently apply it down. There's a third hand tool that hooks into your spokes that you can put up here. Those are always nice if you have them. I just never really had the need. My arms are pretty strong, my barrel and my knee and everything works out to do pretty much the same. Some people swear by them, they really love them, and that's different than swearing at them. There's some tools that are a little tough to work with that you may swear at, but that's that third hand tool, that's not one of those. That's one that you swear by, not at. And you see it's getting too tight, and that's just impossible. So you need to pull up on the bottom. See, on the rim, you've got this little groove or this little channel that the spoke's right in. You need to get the two parts of the tire to come together and into that channel, and then you'll have plenty of room and you'll have a successful tire mount. How easy is that? I make this look easy. I make drawing fun. That's Mickey Mouse. Alright, so I put my valve core in. I never did put in 3 psi, I should have. My bad. Put 3 psi and put your valve core in before you finish the last part. This one's just super easy, so I didn't have to. But otherwise, it's usually in the last segment like this that you pinch a tube. So when you get to there and it's getting really tough and you put it in, especially on a dirt bike rear wheel, those are harder. But you can do this the same way. Let's get a nut on that valve stem, and then we'll air it up and see how I did. See if it hisses out a hiss of death. Hearing a hiss after you mounted a tire is about as scary as hearing a hiss of a snake. You're walking through the desert or a rattler or something. It's just one of those noises you just don't want to hear. It's like, ah! How could I have possibly avoided being in this stressful situation? Basically, you just have to start over. See all the air blowing out? That's just air being displaced by the tube inflating. So you may have to inflate this, you know, kind of a lot. Just how fun is that? We got the runners again. That's fun, they're running for charity. Seems like we got them at the same time last year. So that's fun, we got some really good charitable type law enforcement and public servants here. Anyway, that's fun. Okay, this is fun. When you hear sirens or whatever, you go out and look, and then there's the motorcade coming down the street, and you go running back to the garage. That makes you look a little suspicious. If I was going for the camera, that was fun. Anyway, back to the tire mounting. Video in progress. You want to watch the bead all the way around here, and I'm a little tucked in right here. I didn't get enough powder maybe. That seems possible. If you just inflate it so it just kind of creeps up, and you'll get it to just go burp. If you have to go higher than 70 psi, pull the valve stem and adjust things so that you're good. So I'm at about 65 here, and something magic happens between 65 and 70. See it just creeping out there? It just gets moving. But you got a little line here that kind of helps you to gauge it. If you have it tucked in, you're going to be going down the highway like this. You know, it's going to start hopping on you. You'll have a high spot. So this all looks really good. Looks like it all came out okay. So, take your gun off. Stick that on there, and that will get your pressure gauge. When you hit the trigger, it's just going to let the air right back out. Some guns have a little thing on. This one's made by Mac Tools. And it's a real POS like the rest of them. It doesn't have that little button, so you just gotta take it off. All I'm saying is I paid too much for this. Look on your tire, see what your PSI is supposed to be. This one says, you know, the max at 41 PSI. 35 or 40 is probably good for this. Being a front tire, you don't need a whole lot. If you got a real fat woman on the back and it's a back tire, you may want to consider more air in there. Anyway, 38 psi. Alright. So that's how you do the tire on this. And if you get baby powder on the lens, it's just going to be a little bit glowy. So I hope you enjoy this video. Maybe I'll show you how to throw this on real quick. Do you guys like that? We'll do that. So the way this works is that you've got an axle bolt, and then you've got a cinch bolt. Your axle bolt on this one is let me just show you the socket. It's a H12, which just means a big mother Allen wrench. And then the other one that you need is the 8mm for the cinch bolt. So this bolt goes in through here, and as soon as you go through, you put your spacer in. Spacer looks like that, and the spacer is to allow room for your speedometer thing over here. And that looks like it's pretty jacked up. Don't know what happened to that. Good job, Suzuki. So anyway, that goes here, and then there'll be a little tab that you need to line it up by. There's a little, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little button here. That's to make it so that this stays put, so it doesn't rotate all over the place. So you need to look at your rotation and just make sure that you're in a good position for that. These will twist if you take the fender off, so if you have to rotate them or do something like that, go ahead and unbolt one side of the fender or both. So anyway, here we go. And then once you get the axle bolt in, this other bolt, the cinch bolt, goes in here. And you want to tighten this. Okay, if you over tighten this, you're going to smash your bearings. Don't do that. If you under tighten it, you're going to have a wobble and your wheel will be able to move back and forth. This does not have to be that dang tight. Don't do that. Work on your cinch bolt for holding this. You know, once you tighten that, see the little slit, that closes and holds this, so it's not going to move, it's not going to go anywhere. I'll let that be a lesson to you. Let's do this. And of course I got to have my little roller off the chair and watch the brake disc, and some people like to open the caliper. I'll cover that real quick. You can take a big flathead screwdriver, stick it in your front brake caliper, and then just rotate it real slow and gentle, like we're friends. Don't get scared and run away, just real slow. You know, it's just like with the Nano, you just treat it with a little finesse. It goes a long way in terms of being easier. So, get this in there, get my foot up underneath of it, get the brake pad thing lined up, and start paying attention to the speedometer. And that goes in before it enters the fork, and you want to have that lined up so that your gears line up properly. Have it go in gently, support the weight, all that fun good stuff. So with that in, I get my bolt, and as I get my bolt, first thing I'm thinking about is this spacer, that sewing machine leg. So I'm doing a bunch of running lately. It's not that heavy, I'm just that fatigued. Alright, so put that in there. Get the threads to start properly. Don't force it, make sure that things are good. Rotate your wheel, make sure that your gears for your speedometer are okay. And then just go nuts. Get it in there, get her started, get her done. Like I say, I'm going to draw these together, but I'm not going to stress it out. This will actually move in and out on the bolt. You just snug it down, that's all you need. Doesn't have to, you don't have to kill your bearings. And then once that's in, then you put in your cinch bolt. There's a couple of reasons why they call it a cinch bolt. One is because it makes this job so much easier. I'll tighten this down a little bit and then put it on the ground. And then I'll squeeze the brakes and push forward on the suspension. And that'll help everything get centered up. And then once that's happened, then I'll tighten it down the rest of the way. But I want it in there and close, but I'm not going to tighten it yet. Then when I'm done with that, I'll put in the beauty cap. I got Michael Jackson socks. Ow! Alright, so as it comes time to put the bike back down on the ground, mount this mother hog. Let her down a little this side. Switch. Down a little this side. If you get a real extreme angle, you can slide off the jack. If you're straddling the bike, you're just plain not going to drop it. It's a lot safer. If you can use two people when you jack it up, that's great. So I'm down to the kickstand. Let it come to rest on the stand. Get this jack out of the way. It's so nice having two floor jacks. It's nice for safety in case of emergency. It's also nice for crap like this. So you're not going to have any front brakes because you took the screwdriver and spread it out. So you're going to pump the brakes, get it to be in neutral, roll it onto the brakes, yow, yow, yow. And then ideally you just want to have it be in the same upright position without having an extra person. So then we go to tighten this down. Now these are magnesium or aluminum, and you just don't want to strip that out. That would be a knucklehead thing to do. That'd be expensive to replace this. So you torque it down, get it snug, don't strip it out. Put in your beauty cap, and use a rubber face hammer. Sometimes I know the customer just does not take that good care of their bike, Lucas, and so then I don't go to great extreme painstaking lengths. Other people who take awesome care of it, I will. But anyway, so it's always confusing for me to do upside down. I want it to tighten in this direction. I'm going to tighten up my inner tube nut. So we got white wall tires, didn't even pay extra. I think white walls look really cool on these. What do you guys think? So support your little valve stem. Look, I can't see. I know. Sorry about that. You probably didn't pay a lot for the video either. Alright, so there's your big long video, and we are done. Get her done. We're not really done. We still have to balance this bad boy. I'm going to have to take that back out. To balance it, you take off all your old weights. Use your screwdriver and your soft face hammer. I got interrupted. I had somebody come in unannounced and soak up a bunch of time. So I'm a little off my game. Apologize. But I'm human, and that's what happens. Alright, so get off all the old weights. You can jack the bike up. I like to do mine at about a 30-degree angle. I'll have the wheel supported such that, you know, it rotates on its own accord. You can do a rough wheel balance by putting it up on the jacks if you want. That'll work. And we'll just do that on camera real quick. That way you guys will get to see me jack the bike up again. I'll give you a macro view of it this time. How's that? You're welcome. I'll come back a little bit with that pad. Make room for the other jack. Alright, risky business. You're going to drop the bike, it's doing this part. Get the other jack in. Now, all bikes you can't do this with. If you're working on a Ducati, like a Ducati Monster or something, you got to use straps and an engine hoist. Cherry picker, people call them. I'm holding on to the bike. I'm straddling the bike. The bike is not going to fall over today. No, sir. Watching my pads where they make contact with the frame. Everything's looking good. Double check. I really like what I see. Give a little stability check. We're good. Alright. So now I'm going to have to spread the brake pads again, even though I pumped it out. Some of them have a window on the back side where you can spread them. Other ones you have to go on the ends. This one I don't have to go on the ends. But you pry brake pad against brake pad by the ends of them. And you can get it nice and loose like that. And apparently I didn't spread them enough. You can hear it ringing. Let freedom ring. Motorcycles are a symbol of freedom, you know that, right? The whole world know that today is a day of reckoning. The rights be wrong, but the weak be strong. So you make up your own words and there's no copyright violation. Alright, so where we end, I got all this white powder on there, so this is my heavy part right here. Get a little spit going on. Make a line. And then just roll the tire just real slow. See what your line does. If it goes right back to the same spot and stops, you need to balance that out. And that's really weird because it went over the crest. You know, sometimes if you line that dot up with a valve stem, it's just going to work out great for you. It's not going to be a problem. This is not the best way to balance. Like I say, I'm going to have to pull the wheel back off and balance it proper. There's my old line. My new one is up here. It's pretty ambiguous. What I like to do is I'll put this pin in the vise in a point where it doesn't have to be perfectly circular, and I'll have the wheel's like this right now. Got that? So I'll do it like this, and that way the bearing bears the weight better, more, and it's easier to determine where to add weight. The other tire, it was a mess. It required a ton of weight. This one's actually really good. Pretty much don't even have to balance this one. That's just gross. Alright, there's my new line. Where's my old line? Can't even see it anymore. Didn't do it very good. It looks like this is a little bit heavy, so I'm going to take some weight from my toolbox and clean the rim and stick some weight directly opposite of that. Exact opposite. Where's my weight go? I've got one of these old ones on. You're pinching on the spoke. That interesting. Alright. So you take your weight and you pinch that on. Up here. This is fun. Alright, let's try this again. Try to spin it enough to make one full revolution, you know, to go from stripe all the way back to stripe. And that way you can see, you know, if it's gonna, see it's just stopping, the line's clear up here now. I might get by with just a 1/4 ounce on this one. Maybe I won't pull it out. I got a song stuck in my head. Spin. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have to balance this more than that after all. Kind of happy, fun, joy kind of stuff. Yeah, the spot's clear here and I'm not overweighted there, so I'm going to call it good. Take it out on the highway. Get your tire balanced. Head out on the highway. Looking for adventure. Or whatever comes my way. I'm in a good mood. I think this is fun. And that's how you mount and balance your little tire on your little street bike. Hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.